Welcome, everyone, to the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners issues and updates on our first meeting of the new year, January 3rd, 2024. County Administrator Gary Schmidt, you're up.
Thank you, Chair Smith. Commissioner Schrader is out of the office today. All the other commissioners are present. Chair, would you please convene as the Water Environment Services Board of Directors?
I'll recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as Water Environment Services.
This is request for consent agenda for the Water Environment Services Board of Directors. Item 1, approval of an amendment with McClure and Sons to award additive bid alternatives number 1 and number 2 for the primary clarifier rehabilitation project at the Tri-City Water Resource Recovery Facility. Amendment value is $7,387,672.57, increasing the total contract value to $12,812,402.57. Funding through Water Environment Services Sanitary Sewer Construction Fund. No county general funds are involved. Greg Geist, Director of Water Environment Services, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Gary. Good morning, Chair Smith and Commissioners. Happy New Year. This is a three-phase project. These are primary clarifiers. There's 6 very large tanks near the beginning of the treatment process. They were built in 1986. They're covered, and it's where the initial treatment process happens. There's mechanical equipment in there that aids in that process. It's a very harsh environment for concrete with that kind of material moving through it, and it needs to be refurbished. Phase 1 was we purchased the equipment for all 6 of the basins and had McClure and Sons refurbish the first 2. So we would take 2 of the basins offline during the summertime when flows are low, refurbish the concrete, put in the new mechanical equipment, and the first phase was completed in November, and we are happy with the work, and so we want to go ahead and award them phase 2 and phase 3 to refurbish the remaining 4 basins. And that work will happen this year, 24 and 25.
Questions or comments?
Yeah, Greg, aside from the digester work and the history of the digester at Tri-Cities, wasn't there some work done? Was it the secondary clarifiers, or wasn't there some prior work done?
Well, we have done some mechanical work on the primary clarifiers, probably 8 to 10 years ago. I don't know that we've done much on our secondary. Well, I think we replaced and balanced what we call the sweeps, but not on the concrete. We haven't done any concrete work that I'm aware of.
Could you get back to me on that?
Yeah.
On both
Sure.
the work
Yeah.
of the primaries and the secondaries? I want to just make
Yeah.
sure, just get an idea how long our investments or repairs are
Sure.
lasting.
I do know that we've, in the past few years, refurbished both of the secondary clarifiers at our Kellogg facility.
Right, that I'm aware of, yeah.
Okay.
We're talking Tri-Cities here.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Is this a total rebuild of?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, all new mechanical equipment, basically taking the concrete, chipping it down to solid foundation, and then rebuilding it back up.
And then what's happening to the processes while these are being replaced?
Well, we do it in the summertime when flows are low, so we can take those 2 basins at a time offline. That's why we're doing it over multiple years. Next year, or this summer, we'll take 2 more down. Next summer, we'll take the remaining 2.
And then what do you expect the life to be of the new improvements?
Well, the concrete, I mean, it's been in there since 1986.
Okay, you said 86, you did say that, okay.
Yeah,
all
I
righty.
would assume that
And
much
you
more
say
time.
It's hard on them.
Yes,
Yeah, okay. Other questions or comments? See no objections.
thank you.
Thank you. Chair, would you please reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners?
I'll recess as Water Environment Services and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners.
Next is request for consent agenda for the Board of County Commissioners. First, Finance Department. Item 1, approval of a goods and services contract with Crystal Greens for Clackamas County Campus Landscape Services. Total contract value is $1,708,560 for 3.5 years. Funding is through budgeted county general funds. Elizabeth Comfort, Finance Director, and introduce your guest, please.
Yes, Happy New Year. Yes, I have with me Steve Bloomer. He is our construction manager at our facilities group. And Commissioners, what we'd like to ask you is to approve a new contract. This is a new vendor, and we had the previous vendor for the last 10 years, Earthworks, and we went out for an RFP. We selected Crystal Springs. Crystal Greens. And you'll notice that this contract is for 3.5 years. The other contracts were 5 years each, and we decided to shorten it a little bit. And at the end of 3.5 years, one thing it'll do, it'll align with our fiscal years, and then also it'll give us an opportunity to determine if they're a good fit for the county. We'd either go out for an RFP or ask for an extension. And this contract is for 42 properties. Most of them are up here at the Red Soils.
Is this a Clackamas County-owned business? Do they reside in Clackamas County? Do you know?
Yes, they do.
Okay, good. Thank you. Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Next, Human Resources. Item 1, approval of a personal services contract with CDR Labor Law for union contract negotiations and grievance investigations for the Clackamas County Employees Association and the American Federation of State and County Employees Bargaining Units. Contract value not to exceed $750,000 over 3 years. Funding is through budgeted county general funds. Evelyn Minor-Lawrence, Director of Human Resources, and Eric Machado, Risk Manager. Go ahead, please.
Go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. We're here to seek your approval on the granting our contract for CDR, who's been doing our negotiations for the last couple secession contracts for ASME and EA. We did go out with a request for a proposal, and this was the only firm that had responded. And so Mr. Collier, you've all met. He has negotiated our contracts and are very familiar with the ASME contracts. And for that continuity, we would like to continue with that. We have received notifications from both ASME and EA to open the contracts for secession bargaining.
Questions, comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 2, approval of an amendment to a contract with Brown & Brown of Oregon for comprehensive insurance and risk management consulting services. Amendment value is $180,574 for 4 years. Total contract value is increased to $302,664 for 7 years. Funding is through the Risk Management Claims Fund balance and department cost allocations, which does include a small portion of budgeted county general funds. Go ahead.
Eric.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. As indicated, this is just an amendment to an existing contract. We've been contracted with Brown & Brown for 3 years now, after an RFP in 2020. And I would like to take advantage of the amendment option in that contract to extend it for another 4 years. They've offered to, as per the original RFP amount, to have a nominal 3% increase in cost each year, which I think is a great value.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Thank you. Next, County Administration. Item 1, approval of a lease with the Clackamas County Historical Society for the Museum of the Oregon Territory. No fiscal impact, no county general funds are involved. Nancy Bush, County Operating Officer. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Good morning, Commissioners. So this is a lease that we've been working on for quite some time with Mood through the Historic Society. I believe we have everything here that was requested, as well as what was requested from the Commissioners, as well as what was requested from Mood. So that's what we have before you today.
Commissioner Scholl.
Yes, good morning, Ms. Bush. In your document here, it says there's no charge for rent. Is that something new, or have we been doing that all along?
We have never charged them
Okay,
rent
thank you.
that I could find.
Seeing no further questions and no objections, thank you.
Item 2, approval of a change order with Clackamas Progress Partners for change order number 14 for security equipment and changes for the replacement county courthouse. Change order value is $272,200.35. Funding is through courthouse security funds administered by the Circuit Court presiding judge. No county general funds are involved.
All right, thank you. So these are changes that are related to security in the courthouse, and they are changes that are requested by the Justice Court. As part of this, because it was going over the costs, they gave us dollars to cover all of these costs, which is from the security fund that the presiding judge has is able to give to us. In addition to that, we actually already have the funds in-house.
Okay. Further questions or comments?
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused. Isn't Justice Court has to be separate, a separate building? Or am I confusing that with another court?
So the Justice Court, does it have to be a separate building? I honestly don't know the answer to
My
that.
understanding is the Justice Court had to be by law in a separate building, so why is that into the replacement county courthouse contract?
I can answer.
Okay.
So yes, the Justice Court must not be in the county seat. It cannot be in the city of Oregon City. That's why it's located
Right.
in the Clackamas Town Center area. I think, Nancy, you mispronounced. This is the Circuit Court presiding judge.
Oh,
The
sorry.
Circuit Court Security
Sorry.
Fund, not the Justice Court.
Okay.
Sorry, my error.
Yeah, I heard that too. Other questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 3, approval of a change order with Clackamas Progress Partners for change order number 15 for the replacement county courthouse. Change order value is $329,027.05, leaving a balance of $193,928.40 in credits. Funding through credits from previous change orders, which does include budgeted county general funds.
So this particular change order is due to, we must have actually a system in the courthouse that is an intercom system. It was missed in the contract. And by the time the county noticed it was not in the contract, it was too late.
Okey-doke.
Okay.
It happens. Questions or
And
comments?
we are still within budget, just making sure you all know that.
So,
Pardon me, Nancy?
We are still within budget.
We're still within budget. Yeah, Paul.
so are these unanticipated expenses?
This particular one, I wouldn't say was unanticipated. It was, when the contract was done, it was just missed. So we knew we had to have it. It just was missed by us, the county, when the contract was completed. And but by the time that was noticed, we were already going down the financial close road. So we weren't able to add it at that time.
And how far away are we from the threshold of being over budget?
$193,928.40.
Wow, you had that pretty quick, so I'm,
But it's in that first line, it's in the title.
oh, okay, that's right. Okay, so,
Credits.
so that is the threshold then. So
It
if we
is.
give another 194,000, that's going to put us over the threshold.
I cannot guarantee anything, but I do know there's probably 2 more change orders that are coming. And they should not be, we should actually have money left over. As long as we don't have another snag.
Okay.
Thanks, Nancy.
Okay.
Seeing no objections, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Health, Housing, Human Services. Item 1, approval of an amendment decreasing funding from an intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Health Authority for the financing of community mental health, addiction treatment, recovery and prevention, and problem gambling services. The amendment rescinds $23,565 for 6 months. Total agreement value is decreased to $20,279,574.35 for 2 years. Funding is through the Oregon Health Authority. No county general funds are involved. Rod Cook, Director of Health, Housing, Human Services. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. The rescinded funds are being reallocated based on utilization patterns. The opposite can be true, as we can receive additional funds due to the utilization patterns of services. So basically, we were underutilized in one part of the contract, so that's why we need to return those funds in $23,000 out of a $20 million budget.
Great. Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 2, approval of a behavioral health services delegation agreement with CARE Oregon for behavioral health services. The agreement value is $1,251,648 for 6 months. Funding is through the Oregon Health Plan. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, this is an annual renewal of our behavioral health delegation agreement. This agreement provides the funds for intensive care coordination for adults and children accessing higher levels of care, substance use disorder care coordination, and choice services for adults with severe and persistent mental illness in higher levels of care, such as the Oregon State Hospital and residential treatment.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 3, approval of a federal subrecipient grant agreement with Parrot Creek Child and Family Services for alcohol and drug housing assistance program services. Agreement value is $448,633.90 for 18 months. Funding through the Oregon Health Authority. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, Parrot Creek will provide alcohol and drug housing assistance services that support the substance abuse treatment and early recovery efforts of program participants with these funds.
Questions or comments?
Yeah, just a question. If these funds were not used by at this facility, Parrot Creek, would they potentially be eligible to be used elsewhere in the county?
Potentially, yes. I don't know what the timelines are on the spend on these particular funds, but potentially, yes.
Okay, just knowing that the drug issue is obviously far greater than it's ever been before, and I'm just want to make sure that Clackamas County residents are receiving the benefit of that. And I do know there's been historically a question of whether or not the services provided are to Clackamas County residents. So I don't know what that level of service is or the recipients of those are, but I would like to have maybe some kind of a metric that shows us that. Because otherwise, if the funds can be used for the benefit of Clackamas County residents needing the services, I think that would be something we ought to be considering. But is that a bid process?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And we'll get that information for you.
Thank you.
And doesn't Parrot Creek take in customers from other counties as well, though?
There's a possibility. I mean, residential treatment for youth, and so those youth could be coming from other jurisdictions. A lot of their contracts are with the state, so kids, when they come back, transfer back to the county from youth prison. We call it something else. But anyway, they have those type of relationships. So a lot of these kids are definitely from Clackamas County, and families are going to go to Parrot Creek first because you could visit your child and those kind of things. So typically, a high percentage are from Clackamas County. Couldn't guarantee you that they haven't drawn somebody from another county.
Seeing no objections, thank you.
Item 4, approval of a subrecipient agreement with Northwest Family Services for services provided through the Children of Incarcerated Parents Program. Agreement value is $202,000 for 2 years. Funding through county-allocated American Rescue Plan Act funds and behavioral health funds. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, services provided by the Children of Incarcerated Parents are essential to meeting the needs of children impacted by the incarceration of a parent. Basically, when police come in and take a parent out, this program comes in and services the child that's been traumatized by the event.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 5, approval of a revenue grant agreement from the Oregon Department of Early Learning and Care for the Clackamas Early Learning Hub programming. Agreement value is $1,787,264 for 2 years. Funding through the state of Oregon. No county general funds are involved.
This grant agreement is for the continuation of operations of the Early Learning Hub of Clackamas County, whose work is to identify early learning resources and services to children 0 to 6 and their families, and to help align resources in order to achieve kindergarten readiness, stable and attached families, and systems coordination.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 6, approval of a revenue grant agreement from the Oregon Department of Early Learning and Care for Healthy Families of Oregon programming. The agreement value is $1,867,774.92 for 1 year and 8 months. Funding through the state of Oregon. No county general funds are involved.
Healthy Families of Oregon is an evidence-based, voluntary home visiting program that contributes to the economic prosperity of Oregon by preventing child abuse and neglect, promoting healthy child development, improving family self-sufficiency, and helping parents prepare their children for kindergarten.
Questions, comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 7, approval of a public improvement contract with Stoner Electric for the installation of physical infrastructure wiring at the new Health Centers Division Behavioral Health Clinic. Total value is $211,273.56. Funding through Health Centers Restricted Fund Balance. No county general funds are involved.
This contract is to install low-voltage physical infrastructure wiring at our new behavioral health building on Lake Road. Technology Services designed the physical infrastructure wiring and will oversee the project to ensure timely completion.
Wonderful, thank you. Seeing no objections?
Item 8, approval of amendment number 3, number 4, and number 5 to the Revenue Intergovernmental Agreement with the Oregon Health Authority for the financing of public health services. The amendment value is a net increase of $482,780. Total agreement value is increased to $5,946,052.56. Funding is through the Oregon Health Authority. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, this agreement provides funding for fiscal year 2024, and amendments are standard and occur routinely through the life of the agreement. This is basically a housekeeping item. It's submitted in batches and includes core public health-related services, including increases and adjustments to tobacco prevention and education programs, public health infrastructure, overdose prevention, and HIV early intervention and outreach services.
Questions, comments? Seeing no objections?
Thank you. Next, Transportation and Development. Item 1, approval of an amendment extending the duration of the intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Department of Transportation for the Walk Bike Clackamas Plan. Amendment has no fiscal impact. Total agreement value remains at $222,000. Funding is through the Oregon Department of Transportation and $30,000 in matching funds from the County Road Fund. No county general funds are involved. Dan Johnson, Director of Transportation and Development. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Chair Smith, Commissioners. As Gary so eloquently stated, this is simply a time extension. Request we are making to revise this IGA. Essentially, we're looking for additional time to expand, well, to wrap up the project and also to expand some public outreach associated with it. There are estimates that are done with these IGAs, and staff felt a little additional time was required. Right now, we've set a delivery date, I think it's by September of next year, but we're hoping to get that work done sooner than that.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections?
Item 2, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Oregon City to transfer jurisdiction of long-standing court to the city. Total value is $26,700. Funding through the Community Road Fund. No county general funds are involved.
So a long-standing issue with Clackamas County is the fact that we have county roadways that are wholly, partially located within city jurisdictions. Essentially, we were working with the City of Oregon City to transfer the long-standing court. This is an IGA that facilitates that transfer, basically requiring that we would pay the amount of a 2-inch asphalt overlay, which is how that $26,700 number is identified. That's per our urban growth management agreements. And then secondly, basically, once this is completed, we would convey all future maintenance responsibility for this road to the city, and they would become the road official.
I've never heard of this road in Oregon City. Oh,
I
there
have
it is.
never-
It's right off South End, and it's a cul-de-sac type.
And you didn't even laugh at my long-standing issue with the roads.
I have never been on long-standing road. Questions or comments, Commissioners? Yes, go ahead.
Morning, Mr. Johnson. I'm sorry, going back to item number 1, the Walk Bike Clackamas Plan. Is that plan being integrated with our work that's going on now for the Sunrise Gateway corridor between 122nd and 172nd?
It's aware of it.
Okay.
And it's coordinating with it. It's also coordinating, to the best of my understanding, with the transportation system plan update that we're looking to kick off here this year.
Okay, good, thank you.
Seeing no objections, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. All of these items will be on tomorrow's business meeting, Thursday, January 4th, for your final action. Dan, please stay. Next is board appointments for Sunrise Community Visioning Project Steering Committee. There's a memo in your packet. Dan Johnson, Director of Transportation and Development, will present.
Thank you so much. I think all of you are aware of the fact that we have a Sunrise Visioning Project, that is underway and has kicked off. As a part of that, we have a project steering committee. That project steering committee is comprised of approximately 20 individuals with various areas of expertise. Some are elected officials or project partners. Some are businesses and community members up and down the Sunrise Corridor area. And we're actively looking to secure interest and garner interest in filling these positions currently. We're here in front of the board to ask that the board appoint a commissioner to serve on the Sunrise Steering Committee. Just so you understand total scope, we're looking at approximately 8 meetings, give or take. that'll run through 2024. That just kind of gives you kind of an idea about scope and scale. I see Commissioner Schrader's not here, so maybe you can recommend her. I'm just messing with you. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I assume commissioners have read the packet. I will take nominations. I am interested in serving on this committee, and so any other commissioner who would like to opine on this? Commissioner West?
Okay.
Oh, I'm ready to make a nomination. I
Oh.
do not want to serve on this committee, but I'm ready. So.
Commissioner Scholl's up, and then Commissioner...
I'd just like to say that I would be more than happy to serve on this committee. Also, Commissioner Savas would be an excellent choice for this. If do you feel that you have the time for that?
8 meetings over the year's time is not a
Nothing,
big deal.
okay, good, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Savas?
Yeah, I would be interested in this. My history with the Sunrise Corridor and some of the property owners and getting actually Phase 1 of the Sunrise over the top successfully was a big deal. And so I feel I have a nexus to this, and I'd appreciate consideration of the board.
Okay. I, too, have had involvement in this and just finally got off the ground. I want to thank our legislative partners for funding the study, specifically Representative Christine Drazen saw the need and for this to happen. I, too, know a lot of the property owners out there. As chair, I'm in consultation with a lot of people, businesses out there, and I don't often get to select something that is not a, quote, mandated duty of the chair, and I do think this would be very interesting. With that in mind, Commissioner West, you had a light on.
I don't know where we go from here. I mean, we have 3 commissioners that want to do this, but I mean, I am willing to make a nomination and then we can go from there. I don't know how we roll from here, but that's.
I don't think I've ever been here before where we've had more than one person interested. This is exciting times right now.
I am not interested in this position for the
you-
record. It is an important one, but not one that I am ready to fill. So I'll take officially myself away from consideration. But Martha very well. I don't know what's next. How do we do this?
I can make a
So
motion.
you could just discuss it amongst each other, or someone make a motion and see if there's a second and do it that way.
Do you?
Mark, you have your light on?
Yes, I would like to make a motion if you,
Okay.
okay? I would like to move that we appoint Commissioner Savas to the Sunrise Community Envisioning Project Steering Committee. Thank you.
A motion has been made to appoint Commissioner Savas. Do I hear a second?
Second.
It has been seconded by Commissioner Savas. Any further discussion? Tony, please take the poll.
Commissioner West.
No.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl.
Aye.
Chair Smith.
No. Motion is tied at 2-2. It dies. Gary, if we don't reach an agreement on this today, we can bring it over till next week when there are 5 commissioners here.
Yes.
I don't think there's any need for another motion right now. I think we know where the votes lie. So I'm going to recommend, Dan, that we come back next week during Tuesday's issues, unless there's any further objections from this board today on that.
It's fine.
I'll see you next week.
We'll bring it back next week, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Next, Partnering for Vaccine Equity Project Grant request. This was a request for consent agenda in December. The board had many questions, so we pulled the item. Staff has answered the questions in the form of a memo and are here today to discuss with you again to see if you are, one, to answer your questions, and second, to see if you want to go forward or not with this grant. So the memo is in your packet along with the original staff report. With us today to discuss is Rod Cook, Director of Health, Housing, Human Services, and Philip Mason Joyner, Public Health Division Director. Go ahead, please.
Do you want a quick refresher?
Yes, please.
Okay. Clackamas County is one of 18 national awardees of the Partnering for Vaccine Equity Grant offered through the National Association of County and City Health Officials. This grant project is primarily focused on conducting assessments and outreach with adult Latinx community members to understand barriers and access concerns within the community. This project is focused on education and learning about the barriers for all adult vaccinations, including COVID, flu, RSV, tetanus, diphtheria, measles, mumps, rubella, HPV, etc. The memo that's included goes into this pretty extensively for you, and we believe we've answered the questions that came before us back in December. So we're here to answer any further questions.
Yeah, your information is quite good in this, answers a lot of questions. Unfortunately, when it came forward to this board, the first time, the presenters were at a disadvantage because they didn't know all the information here. You brought it back upon board request, and I think you've answered a lot of questions, including my own, about the vaccine rate in Clackamas County. I knew the first round was pretty high. I knew the second round was lower. You've quantified that for us and set those numbers straight. Thank you for that. Further questions and comments? Commissioner West.
Yeah, I fully support this. I did when it first came. I support it now. And I would urge the board to pass this good public health measure.
Other comments, questions on this? Commissioner West, do you want to make a motion?
Commissioners, we don't need a motion. We'd put it on the consent agenda
that's
tomorrow
right.
if you agree.
We did. Okay, perfect, yeah.
Got it. That's fine. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Very good. We'll add it to tomorrow's consent agenda. Thank you. Next, Association of Oregon and California Counties Litigation Assessment. Commissioner Shull, would you like to discuss, or I'm happy to give the update, or however you'd like to do it?
Why don't I say a few things, and then you can fill in the gaps. Oregon harvest of our natural resources, we are fighting a battle between us and the federal government. In December, I had meetings with the Council of Forest Trust Lands counties regarding Oregon Department of Forestry issues. On the 15th of December, the Board of the Association of Oregon and California Counties that deal with BLM managed lands, of which we have 93,000 acres in Oregon, met. And on 19 December, I met with the supervisor of the Mount Hood National Forest, and we talked about federal forest harvest. The picture is not good. The Secure Rural Schools Act, which was enacted, I think, back in the early 90s to provide the counties with forest lands with a payment in lieu of harvest receipts, that Secure Rural Schools Act ran out on 30 September of last year. We received in April of 2023 $2.2 million to Clackamas County from the Secure Rural Schools Act. Again, it's over. We will get our 2023 payment in March or April of this year, which I expect will be near the amount that we got last year. But now the situation is this. The only way we will get payments from our forest natural resources is going to be through harvest receipts. The federal government is causing logging in Oregon in our BLM managed land, of which we have 93,000 acres in Clackamas County, and in our national forest, which we have 273,000 acres, to see reduced harvest. Now, in 2023, when my meeting with Meta Lofsgarten, supervisor of the Mount Hood National Forest, on the 19th of December, the Department of Agriculture gave her, for her national forest, a minimum harvest amount of 20 million board feet. Now, what is 20 million board feet? The Mount Hood National Forest, for example, has got almost 1.1 million acres of timber. Of that, 311,000 acres is wilderness, no cut. Another 350,000 acres is old growth, very restricted harvest. which leaves about 650,000 acres in the Mount Hood National Forest. So the supervisors come up with actually about 45 million board feet of harvest for this next year, for this year. But what does that mean? Out of 650,000 harvestable acres, 45 million board feet works out to 69 board feet per acre. Can you imagine that? One of our fir trees, a healthy
One tree.
30 or 40-year tree, can produce more than 64 board feet of fiber. So that's the ridiculous situation we're in. And so my concern is our remaining mills in Clackamas County, which is the Interfor mill and the RSG mills at or near Molalla. If harvest is not sustained, and we're looking at like 36,000 board feet of fiber for an average acre of our Clackamas forest lands. If we cannot somehow influence the federal government to have a sustained harvest, we might be in a situation where we lose those last mills and the jobs that go with it. So what we have before us today is on one of our areas, remember we have federal forest, we have the BLM managed forest, and we have ODF managed forest, and also the Clackamas County acreage that we manage ourselves. But here today is the issue of the Association of Oregon and California Counties. That's the association that works with BLM to manage some 1.6 million acres amongst 16 counties. And the 1924 ONC Act ensured that those BLM-managed lands would be managed in a sustained harvest with receipts going to the counties. Now we're in a situation where that harvest is probably, we're looking at huge reductions in the harvest. So we have a lawsuit to help protect our interests, and the Association of Oregon and California Counties, we have a request for our portion of that legal fee, which is about $17,000, a little bit over $17,000. So I recommend the board pay that so we can have some teeth in the fight to help protect our interests in Clackamas County.
Gary, would you like to talk about the money situation?
Yes, so Commissioner Shull is correct. The request is for Clackamas County's assessed fee for this litigation would be $17,130. The Clackamas County Board in 2019 also paid an assessment for the same litigation. It was just beginning at that time. At that time, the county paid $30,263. So this request is for an additional $17,130. The money that the county receives for the Secure Rural Schools Act, which includes the ONC funds, is specifically earmarked, so we cannot use it for this litigation purpose. So if you were to go forward, we'd use general fund. I have a small, it's not budgeted, but I would find the money, of course, but.
So of the $2.2 million that has come in, that has specific purposes, and those are, roads are one of those purposes.
County roads, disaster management. We distribute some funds to local school districts, and there's a small public safety component too.
Okay, Commissioner West?
Just to understand the history of this, it looks like the Association of ONC Counties filed lawsuit. They won in district court, and the federal government appealed that to the appellate court, and that lower court decision was stayed. And then now the battle is on to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court only takes so many cases. Is this like, let's say this is dead and we lost in court? do we get this money back, or is this the fight to take it to the Supreme Court? Like, what is the next way? I support, I think we all support the fight here on the county level that we've been fighting. I just don't understand where this money is going to, and what our recourse is like and chances, or what are we hearing about that, I guess is my question.
So this is paying for the action to get to the Supreme Court. So whether we win or lose, this is to pay the attorney fees to even get there.
So what if we don't get to the Supreme Court? What if our petition is denied by the Supreme Court and this is not heard? That's what the ultimate goal is. Correct, Commissioner Scholl?
Well, yeah, that's the
Yes,
intent.
but, you know,
is
they
to
could
get
deny
this
us, and
yeah.
then we would still be out the fee. Correct?
We'd still be out the fee, yes.
So we're appealing decisions, so at the lower courts, we have appealed, and I'm pretty familiar with this too, and thank you, Commissioner Scholl, for bringing this forward. We've lost at every level along the way, okay?
We lost at the circuit court,
We just
lost at
lost-
appellates, now it's a Supreme.
Yeah.
We lost at the circuit,
One.
one.
They, federal appealed to the
Okay.
to the
Thank you.
Fifth Circuit or something like that. There they lost or stayed it, now it's being appealed to the Supreme Court for a
Okay.
final decision.
Yeah.
Am I understanding that process?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, Commissioners, we always have these worthy budget items come forward. Unfortunately, we can't take it out of the 2.2. That would have been a no-brainer. Okay, now this is one of those items out of the general fund, and we've been having discussions about the use of our very precious general fund. I guess the question is, do we want to take it out of that? Commissioner Scholl?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that of the 16 counties that are members of the Association of Oregon and California Counties, Clackamas County is the 5th largest land county for BLM managed land at 93,000 acres. So this is a big deal to us.
Have the other counties said that they would go ahead and pay this to?
Yes, what happened was, if you might recall, back last year on 30 March, I briefed the board at issues on this upcoming financial ask on this legal thing. Then sometime in end of October, there was a message that came to us that I missed on request. So all the other counties in the Association of Oregon and California Counties had paid their dues, or excuse me, their portion of this legal fee by the 15th of December, and it was only Josephine County and Clackamas County that hadn't paid it by that time. And again, it's because just of a oversight on a message that got by us somehow.
Does Josephine plan on paying their dues?
No, they already have.
Oh, they already have, got it. Not, I shouldn't say dues, they're fee, legal fees.
Assessment.
Any further questions or comments?
Well, Chair, I'd like to just make one more comment.
Yeah.
And that is this. We, here in Oregon, we're only one county with one voice. And so the Association of ONC Counties, I believe, is a group of people that are very, very concerned about the management of our natural resources and ensuring that those natural resources benefit the people of the counties that are members to the association. And we have to fight because in my meetings with a National Forest Supervisor, with the Bureau of Land Management District Manager, it's evident that the bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. are bullying even their own employees in this state. And if we don't stand up and fight for everything we can, we might see a situation in the near future where almost all of our timber lands are put off limits for the very important harvest that stimulates this economy in this county and in this state.
Commissioner West?
I'm curious, and Commissioner Scholl, you know more about this than I do. You probably have this answer is, what is and just like a synopsis, a brief one, what's the argument that we're making Is this a states' rights issue? Is this a local versus, like, what is
No.
where's the crux
Yeah,
here
yeah,
of the
well,
argument?
In this particular issue we have on the table this morning, Commissioner West, is the issue of the Association of ONC Counties, which is BLM managed land. Now, here's what it boils down to. Here's what it boils down to. One, whether the president can use an Antiquities Act proclamation to override Congress's plain text in the 1924 ONC Act to repurpose vast swaths of ONC timberlands as a national monument where sustained yield timber production is prohibited. And two, whether the Secretary of the Interior can override the ONC Act by designating 80% of ONC timberlands as conservation reserves where sustained yield timber harvest is prohibited. That's what we're fighting.
And this is just basically, is the executive branch overstepping its role within the federal administrative state based on the statutes that were passed by Congress? Is that right?
That's correct,
Okay.
yeah. Thank you.
Further discussion, Commissioner Shaw, do you want to make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to move that this board approve the legal cost assessment of $17,130 for the Association of ONC Counties Litigation Fund Assessment.
Second.
Commissioner Shaw has moved, we approve a $17,000 for the legal fees to fight a court case to the Supreme Court regarding the harvest of our timber, and Commissioner Savas has seconded the motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Tony, please take the poll.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Zavas.
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw.
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item, National Association of Counties 2024 Annual Dues. I included the invoice in your packet. The annual dues for us to be a member of the National Association of Counties is $7,520. This is budgeted using general fund, but I just want to seek your decision if you want to remain a member of the National Association of Counties, and if so, would you please make a motion for the amount?
Discussion. Do I hear a motion?
Chair, I move that we pay the annual dues and stay members of the National Association of Counties.
Seconded.
Commissioner West has moved, we pay our dues for the National Association of Counties for 2024. Commissioner Shaw has seconded that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Tony, please call the poll.
Commissioner Zavas.
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, the Oregon City Business Alliance is inviting the board to participate in what they are calling, or we're calling, a Business in the County event in April of this year. The Oregon City Business Alliance would like to partner with all the other chambers of commerce within the county to co-host if they're willing, and this would be your chance to have a business forum with the business community. This would not be State of the County, which you've done in the past with the chamber. This is a business-only forum hosted by the Oregon City Business Alliance. They have picked the dates already, and they're asking you if you are interested in doing this on either Wednesday, April 17th, or Thursday, April 18th. They would be over the lunch hour. Obviously, Thursday you have a business meeting, but we could adjust your calendars, and Wednesday we could make it work. So
Are we the only elected body present at this?
it would just be the Board of County Commissioners as the presenters.
Q&A format?
Yes.
Or do we know?
It would be a Q&A format, maybe some brief speeches to open, and then a Q&A format with the...
So we could work on the program
Yes.
details later.
Yep.
Commissioners, do you have comments? And is there a cost to us,
No cost to you, no.
or the county, I should say?
Rare.
Yeah,
I would probably buy a table so that we'd have a co-sponsor the event, but that's,
Okay.
I have that budgeted. so.
questions or comments from commissioners?
Let's go for it.
All right, do we
Excellent.
need
Yay.
to,
You don't need a
Thumbs up.
motion. We'll work with your calendars to pick the best date that works for your calendars, but we'll go forward. Thank you very much. All right, next on the list is business meeting agenda review for this Thursday, January 4th, 2024, which is tomorrow. Because of the holiday, we have a shortened schedule, and I have too many papers in front of me. All right, your agenda review. You will have a public hearing on a boundary change for Clackamas County Service District Number 1. You will select the vice chair of the Board of Commissioners for 2024. and you'll have all the consent agenda items you discussed today. That's the agenda. If you have any questions on any of these items, please let me know, and I'm happy to answer it for you before tomorrow. Do you have any questions about the vice chair appointment? It's pretty simple. Except for the chair, you rotate this position. This is just someone to serve when Chair Smith is out of the office. That's what the vice chair does. And there's 2 standing committees you're an automatic member of here at the county. But we'll have that discussion tomorrow.
So what's the rotation?
Commissioner West would be next in line to serve if he accepted and you so chose. So that'll be the discussion tomorrow. All right. That is my list. The final item is Commissioner Communications.
Commissioner Communications, Commissioner Scholl, would you like to go first?
Yes, thank you. Like I mentioned, on 19 December, I met with the supervisor of the Mount Hood National Forest, Meadowlofts Garden, and we discussed harvest for 2024, which, like I mentioned, is not looking that good. She mentioned that many of the sales, when they come up and are advertised, the first thing that happens is a lawsuit from the environmentalist community. So it's very difficult. I just hope for the best that we at least get that 45 million board feet harvested in this year. We drove up to Zigzag to look at a piece of property that the Forest Service has up there, and on the way up we talked about workforce housing, which is a very critical issue up in that area of the county. There's many Forest Service workers that work up that way, and but the options for housing up there is rather grim. So we have on the schedule for, I think it's 10 January, the supervisor of Mount Hood National Forest, and I think with some of our housing
Yes,
people
it is scheduled.
are going to meet with us and talk to us about some of their concerns. So I look forward to hearing that. And I think that's all I have for you today.
Piggyback on your comments regarding timber harvest, a couple months ago, I toured the Sandiam Canyon Ferris Lumber Company. And they have one of the private mills who have, over the past, bought a lot of our federal and state timber. And those are no longer available. And so historically, what has happened is that the private sector, the private landowners would sell their timber. And Rob told me he was never so surprised is that they posted the price they were paying for logs to come in. It was very high, Mark. Probably $1,000 per thousand, which is extremely high. Not one landowner contacted them to sell their timber. And he was really shocked about it. He says, what are we going to do? The second issue is the workforce to log it. The availability of contract loggers are no longer available. So what they have done is they own their own timberland and they are accelerating their own harvests. They've employed their own trucks. He says, we're a sawmill, we're not loggers. But he says that's what they're having to do to get the product. And they are probably the one leader, the world leader, believe it or not, in what they call MPP, and it's this plywood that it's pressed together, and they make large beams. They can make buildings out of it. You can build up to I think an 18-story structure out of that. And I toured that plant, and it is it's so cutting edge. It's so technologically advanced and accurate, and it's really where we're going, but now we're even having trouble getting that. So there's a lot of moving parts on this timber issue. Not alone the governor wants to restrict us even further with the Habitat Conservation Plan, as you know, you've been a part of that. So it's a lot of stuff going on out there.
Yeah. Chair Smith, if I might add one thing, and that is this. If we never see a Secure Rural Schools Act payment after this spring, and we have to rely on harvest receipts, should we lose the RSG mill and the Interfor mills, and then if they're gone for lack of logs, and if in the future sales come up from BLM or National Forest, and the bidders realize that they're going to have to transport those logs even further instead of just to Molalla. Now what's going to happen, bid costs, bids go down, and even if we do see harvest receipts, they're going to be based on a lower sale price on the sale.
And therefore, less money going to our schools,
Exactly,
our roads,
exactly.
all those essential services.
Exactly right. While in the meantime, those acres of timberland are growing at a huge rate, while the logging is just infinitesimally small.
Yes, it's an issue. Up next, Commissioner West, do you have comments?
Those were pretty intense ones just before me. Commissioner Scholl, thank you so much for your work on that. It's a really informative and important work. It's interesting to me how we, and rightly so, focus on being good stewards of the environment and whatnot. And we talk a lot about renewable resources, but we have one of the greatest renewable resources on the planet when it's well managed, and that's our timber. And so much of this, like many things in our state, aren't really driven by good policy decision and good evidence, but really driven by ideology. And those bad policies and those ideologies have specific outcomes, and now facing a looming or possible closure of essential employers and people that give people the dignity of work and the ability to be part of the land in which they live in a way that's really not only good for their own community, but also for the land itself, is really a battle worth fighting, because that's essential to a vibrant local economy and vibrant communities. So I'm glad that we're taking on that fight. I think it was really important what action we could as a board today regarding the legal fight and the conversation. And your liaison work, Commissioner Scholl, in that arena has been really beneficial to this county, so thank you to that. I'm glad to be back from the holidays. I had a wonderful time with my family and friends, and it's great to be back here in the swing of things as we do a lot of important work. I hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas and is excited about their new resolutions moving forward. And I know we have a lot of exciting things planned here in the county. I guess I don't have much to report, except it's when we get back from a long break, it's super busy. But I'm excited to jump in and do that work. So beyond just having a peaceful, restful, good holiday season with my family and friends, and I celebrated my 45th birthday.
Oh, my gosh.
Yep, I turned 40.
What day?
My kid walks in the room on my birthday. He didn't say happy birthday to me, and Jay walks in and he goes, "Well, Dad, you're halfway to 90. Thanks, Jay. Thanks, I appreciate that. He's like, "I think you're old now," and I was like, so I turned 45 on December 30th. So, but it was a lot of fun, and we had a really good time. So, yeah, I'm happy to see what 2024. I think much of 2023 is pointing to a very busy and chaotic, wild 2024. I think the news cycle is going to be hopping, to say the least, and be very busy for us all. But it's interesting how some years foreshadow things to come. I think 2023 did that in many, many ways. So yeah, but I'm heartened by the fact that Clackamas County has good local government helping to kind of steer the way. And with that, Chair, I will pass the baton to the next commissioner.
Sure. Commissioner Savas, you're up.
Yeah, just want to make a reminder that as with the new year approaching, and I'll talk about at another time the MFR, Managing for Results, or strategic plan, but after spending another hour of our day on the consent agenda for tomorrow, and we're making decisions, I want to get a better idea, as I mentioned this morning. 6 months ago, we were under the impression that we had $500,000 to budget for reductions in the 2024-2025 budget cycle. A couple, 3 months ago, we were made aware that it's more $5 million, and learned of another potential expenditure that could be as high as 2.6 or more or less. So I would like, number one, to get whatever forecast we have and an assessment either from finance or the administrator as to what's moving. Is the expense side and the liability side moving faster clip than the revenue side? But I don't have any fiscal direction. I think it's really important that we understand what that is, especially when we're making decisions on the consent agenda. And other decisions that are not related to the consent agenda. I think it's really, really important. We have some kind of a fiscal barometer, because right now, I don't think I have that compass right now.
Okay,
That's what I have for today.
thank you. Thank you very much. The year 2023, if you'd been a commissioner prior, we saw a lot of resolution to many projects that we had teed up, and it was very evident in the video. Construction projects that we've been working on for years, if not a decade, for the new Fair Barn, for instance. And so that was very promising. It was very rewarding to see all those projects come to fruition. I get several calls every once in a while about our crane that's building the courthouse behind here. Once was the light shown at night, so they turned it off because believe it or not, some people complained that light on the crane, the big round light with the PCL, was too bright and it shone and they didn't like it, so they turned it off. And then we've had probably 2 requests that I'm aware of. Why aren't we flying the American flag on the crane? And so through Gary and Nancy Bush, checked it out. PCL ran it clear up to corporate, and the reason why they don't fly an American flag on the crane is a safety reason. Because they can't have a flag flying around if a man is sitting there or a woman, and they're lifting and they're going back and forth. It is a distraction. We have seen flags, I believe, on cranes, however, they are not in operation. And so we've had requests for that. So if you get any questions about why there's not an American flag flying on the crane, it's a safety operation. Safety concern.
But there is one on the flagpole right outside of it.
Yeah.
There is for the
There is a
record.
flag
There
out
is a
there.
flag. It's just real close. This is not on the crane.
It's just not on the crane, right. And so I thought it was interesting we had a request for that. To me, it said that they just wanted to be able to celebrate our American ingenuity and being American, and look what we're doing type. And I appreciated that very much. I also was very appreciative, it's a safety hazard. Oh dear, okay, well, there we go. Seeing no further business before this commission, we are adjourned.